I want to share with you a very, very special Vort, one of my most favorite Vorts, one that I had the pleasure, the privilege of hearing from Rav Yisrael Meir Lau Shlita on one of his trips to YU when he spoke in the Beis Medrash. And presumably was around either Parshas Shmini or Parshas Acharei, and had to do with an explanation of the deaths of the sons of Aharon. Our parsha begins that Hashem speaks to Moshe, Acharei Mos Shnei Bnei Aharon, after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they came too close to Hashem, and they were punished. And there are many different opinions in Chazal as to what exactly they did wrong. But there's a fascinating medrash that seems very difficult to understand. The medrash quotes a pasuk in Iyov, the beginning of the 37th parak, and it tells us that Vayecharad Iyov, that Iyov was scared. Aflazos Yecharad Libi, about this I'm scared. What was he scared about? Says the medrash that he heard that Nadav and Avihu died, and suddenly Iyov got scared. What scared Iyov so much about Nadav and Avihu, about their deaths? And Rabbi Lau explained beautifully. I believe he quoted from the Makroliyas Hayam, because there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, and the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that Nadav and Avihu were walking on their way. They were walking on their way, and Nadav sees Moshe and Aaron. They're walking, and he says to Avihu, when are these two old guys going to die? And we'll take over in positions of leadership. That was the sin of Nadav and Avihu, and they were both punished for it. And that scared Iyov. What scared Iyov about that? So the Gemara tells us in Maseches Sota and Daf Yud Aleph that when Paro was coming up with his final solution of how to rid the world of the Jewish problem of his time, he had three people that were there. Three Yoatzim, three advisors. Yisro, Iyov, and Bilam. Bilam was all pro. He came up, he designed, he worked, he tried to put the plan into action. Yisro thought this was the most terrible thing. You can't do this. And he ran away. He didn't want to be part of it. And Iyov decided to take the middle ground. Iyov shasak. Iyov was quiet. He didn't protest. It's very difficult to stand up to the king. But he didn't agree because he knew deep down that this was something that shouldn't be done. So what does that have to do with Nadav and Avihu? He explained that Iyov was scared because he thought that the safe option was to keep quiet. But then he saw that not just Nadav who spoke, but Avihu was also punished. And the Chazal don't tell us that Avihu said anything. Avihu might have been appalled by the idea that Nadav had. But it doesn't say that he stood up. It doesn't say that he protested. It doesn't say he told Nadav, what are you talking? How can you talk like this about Moshe and Aaron? And yet they were both punished. Al zos yecharad libi. About this, Iyov says, now I'm scared. Because I realized that by not talking up, I'm not taking the safe ground. That in and of itself is I'm part of this process. And for that, I too am going to be punished. And that's what Chazal teaches in the Gemara and Sota. He was, in fact, punished. Not the same punished, Bilam Nehrag, but he had the Yisurim because of what he did. And it's a critical lesson because sometimes we think that we don't need to be so involved. And we can sit back passively as things are going on in a community, in the world, whatever it may be. But sometimes we need to stand up. There are those moments when we need to stand up for what we believe in, what is so critical in our lives. And we can't just be quiet. Where to speak up, where not to, that's a hard line to draw. But at least we have an understanding that just being quiet is not enough. And we have to ask ourselves in every situation, what more can I do? How can I help? How can I be part of a solution? And not to assume that if I'm quiet and passive, that's going to be okay. That's what Nadav and what Avihu did not understand. That's what Iyov didn't understand. And that's what's left for us to learn from and to stand up for Torah, to stand up for that which is right, and for the Dvar Hashem.